So, a lot of people have been asking, is the Division 2 on life support? Should they still care about this game? Well, that is one thing that we're going to be talking about today because there's a lot of things that we have to unpack here, and I will be giving you guys an in-depth breakdown of what you need to know. So, in the post-launch state of any game out there, there are several things that contribute to a game being put on life support. The first one is the launch and the post-launch revenue. This means how much money does the game make in the launch window and how much money did the game make in the launch year. The next one is going to be population or so-called concurrent players. This basically tells us that, hey, if we release a DLC in the future, are we going to have enough people to buy it, which will make us enough money to recoup the amount of money we spent on developing that DLC and keeping the studios on. So concurrent players is very important. As a matter of fact, they're more important than the launch numbers. And then of course we have the company culture and the developers culture, which is also a huge part when it comes to the lifespan of a game. So revenue is the most important part, of course, because it is what determines if the game is making enough to profit from to begin with. If a game is making less than a studio is spending, then publishers will put that game on life support. That's an automatic life support right there. It doesn't matter what studio it is. With this, more than 60% of live service games that we play today are on life support. This is why microtransaction, battle pass, season pass ideas are so common in a lot of these games. It is what keeps them afloat, and when concurrent numbers begin to dwindle down, those battle pass and microtransaction and season pass is literally what keeps the studios on, because if you lose 90% of your player base and you still have 10% spending money, you can survive. In fact, there are times and there are games that are on life support, but we don't know that they're on life support because they're doing fine. The last few percentage of players who are playing the game are actually spending enough to keep the studio afloat. So that is very important to keep in mind. Hyperscape from Ubisoft, Watch Dogs Legion, Ghost Recon Breakpoint. A lot of this game are being funded by microtransactions since a lot of people are not playing them. There is even Assassin's Creed Valhalla. That game shattered records on launch, but it is on life support now because a lot of people are not playing it, and that is just few months after. As a matter of fact, a lot of these games are on sale now. For those games that are not free to play games, they're on sale. They're constantly on sale. Now, because a game is on life support also doesn't mean it's going to die. It just helps the companies avoid unnecessary spending on extra content if no one is going to buy it or play it to begin with. Because once again, they want to make sure that every amount that they spend is going to come back in terms of profit. So a lot of times, let's say they spend $10 million developing a content that is only supposed to last for 1 month. What they're going to do now is that they're going to stretch that content across 12 months, and that will generate more money, and they may end up getting 20 million or 30 million back from just stretching it out compared to what they would get if they only made it or kept it at 1 month. So what about Division 2? Well, Division 2 entered life support back in year 1, mainly because of the way Ubisoft does things. I made a video a while back where I talked about why Ubisoft is in the business of making sequels and how they often move teams to other projects, leaving skeleton crews to mend and progress on things. Well, that's part of the reason here with Massive. Ubisoft launched Division 1, and then weeks after the game launched, they diverted manpower to working on the next game. They launched Division 2, but before Division 2 was even released, they already started diverting manpower to other projects outside of Division 2. A small group will work on title updates, seasonal content, and DLCs, but majority of the studio is going to be working on the next big thing. Every Ubisoft game goes into life support the moment they are released. You can go ahead and Google it, you can check it out, you can check the numbers. They all immediately go into life support after a month or two when the game is released. Each franchise then now has to crawl out of this massive hole and try to survive. And if they make it out, then they become Ubisoft's biggest or new favorite baby. We see the same thing with Rainbow Six Siege. That was a game that actually didn't do well when it released, but it crawled out of the hole with the help of its developers, and it's now making $500 million a year. And we can also look at Ghost Recon Breakpoint and the Division series. These studios are given a time frame, and if your game doesn't make it out of life support within that time frame, then a sequel is going to be the next money cow, and that will be released a lot early. So if your game survives and comes out of life support and does well, the sequel will get more development time. But if your game doesn't survive, you will get an early sequel. To Ubisoft, the initial sales numbers is what matters. Everything else after that is like a bonus unless it's able to eclipse what the initial sales numbers is. So Division 2 has been in life support since it was released back in 2019, and if you were waiting for confirmation before you can move on, well, I think you're about 2 years too late if that is going to be the deal breaker or maker for you. After this game made its money, then the struggle began, and I don't want to say that Ubisoft Studios don't know how to sustain a game, but it kinda is what it is. It's the fact that Ubisoft doesn't give them the best support to sustain a game. They immediately move them to something else. Unless you make it big after year 1, Ubisoft doesn't care about you as they should. And that's what is going on with Division 2 right now. Majority of its player base are gone, and of course after the DLC they banned a lot of people and people decided not to return. They keep discounting this game and they keep selling season passes and recycled content to get more money to keep the project afloat, because like I said previously, the Division 2 is not making enough money. Once again, look at Hyperscape. Watch Dogs Legion is another game like this. By the time that community gets an update, they will be announcing the next DLC or the next game. Division 2 lasted this long because of the developers and the community around it. Now, I'm not saying the developers don't have their own ridiculous moments, but we have to understand that problems with the Division franchise is beyond the studio itself. So, what is next for Division 2? Well, you will see in March of 2021. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.